Before we start outlining, here's some little tips on how to draw. For example, you draw a line and you don't like the size of it or maybe how straight it is. You just need to draw any line and hold your pen at the very end. Procreate will make it very straight line. If you want it to be at a specific angle, you can hold the screen by your other hand and drag the end of a line, and it will change the direction or rotation by 5 degrees. The same goes with any shapes, like for example with this rectangle. And once again, if you hold the screen, then it will make the square from a rectangle and the perfect circle from ellipse. And for example, we draw this very bad circle and we need to fit into the square. So we draw it and then press these options at the top. And you can correct the shape as you see fit. That will help you during the outlining and general when drawing Procreate like a lot. I use it all the time. We have our sketch. We need to get rid of all these unnecessary lines. And we also need to put several parts on the separate layers so we can animate this. For outlining, I of course use different brush, and you can find it here as airgraph. We need some very hard and firm brush, so you can choose other, but I prefer this one. Another tip is when you use different size of a brush, you can choose this brush and press this plus button, and it will save the size of a brush. Same goes with opacity. If you need something and you use it often, you can just make these marks and you can choose them anytime you want. Once again, I started with the body. I will draw his feet on the separate layers as well, because if we want to make the steps, we need to separate legs, right? We can do in different ways. Not to draw the same thing twice, we can just duplicate the layer and drag it. So we'll have two legs and we can rename them. It is not necessary, but it makes animation so much easier. You can't even imagine how. Especially if you have tons of layers. And the better your drawing is, the more layers it will have, trust me. Okay, the next one is his nose. Okay, when I press the screen, it becomes a circle, but it's more ellipse. If you want a turn, we can use this green line. Pick it and turn. Just drag it a bit and it will change the angle. The next thing is wings. Let's say your paws if you like. But as it is penguin, I prefer to call them wings. As you can see, we can't do this in one line because it will be either very rough or will be corrected to more or less ellipse. But his wing are not exactly the ellipse, so I will draw it in two lines instead. Once again, we can duplicate it, then transform it, like reflect it vertically. And we have two wings. One of them is right and one of them is left. Again, they're on separate layers, and if we want to animate any of them, we can do it. That is basics of our body. We can draw his eyewear. They are more like cyberpunk style. And don't forget that we look at them from below. The rest is, well, quite easy. You just try to draw, keeping in mind our sketch. I also put the opacity of the sketch a little bit down so we won't confuse our outline lines with the sketch lines. Then we will dress our penguin up so we can draw his jacket. We can turn off the wings so we can concentrate our jacket. The line doesn't have to be very straight. As it is clothed, we can draw it just by the hand. Also, to make the drawing more cartoonish-like, the outlines should be a bit thicker than the lines inside the shape. I will turn off the body so we can see outlines of our jacket. So you see, we also add all the details of the jacket it has. So if we move the wing, then some details of a jacket can appear or disappear in the same time. So you should always keep this in mind. It is much better to start like I drew. For example, I started, if you remember, from the body, and then I dressed him on. And in this case, I can animate the jacket, I can animate the wings, I can animate eyeglasses if something happens to them, and of course I can animate his legs. Do the same with his wings. To make the process easier, we can draw one wing and then just duplicate the layer and reflect it. And that's it. Or you can, for example, if you think your wings should be different, then of course you will draw the other wings with your hands. So, in the end, we have a sketch. The next video will be about coloring. Every mistake in the outlining we can correct when we will be coloring. And also keep in mind how far your character is. For example, you can have much more mistakes or rather rude walk if your character is very far, for example, of your future scene. You don't have to be very precise, you don't have to deal with lots of mistakes. You can see a lot of here. But it doesn't matter, because the character would be rather small and no human eyes can get this difference in the few seconds of the scene will be. So that's it. Hope you like it. Like it if you do.